Many Americans imagine Mexico City as being a violent place where drug cartels are everywhere. They think it is dangerous to leave their hotel room without a military escort. But in reality, Mexico City is as safe as any large city. The U.S. State Department suggests that a tourist exercise increased caution. That sounds scary until you realize that the State Department issues the same warning for London and Paris. In the Centro Historico, there is a large police presence. 2 or 3 police officers can be seen talking together on most blocks. They walk through these tourist areas regularly, making sure that everything is secure. It would be foolish for someone to avoid going to Mexico City for fear of violence. You would miss one of the most vibrant cities in the world. Mexico City is large in population, the biggest city in the Americas and one of the oldest. Before it was a colonial city, it was an Aztec one. Tenochtitlan was founded around 1325 and built on an island in shallow, brackish Texcoco Lake. Huitzilopochtli, their god, told the ancient Mexicoli people to build their empire at the place where they would find an eagle on a nopal cactus with a snake in its mouth. The center of present-day Mexico City was that spot. An image of the eagle, the snake, and the cactus is the symbol of Mexico and is the logo in the center of the Mexican flag. The city was founded on an island in Lake Texcoco, and it grew ever larger as the power of the Aztecs increased. Soon there were enormous temples, palaces, homes, and markets. At the height of its power, Tenochtitlan had a population of between 100 and 200,000 people. Scholars think that it was larger than the then contemporary cities of London or Paris. The empire of Tenochtitlan was large in area as well. It extended from the Atlantic to the Pacific coasts and south towards Oaxaca, the Yucatan, and into Guatemala. Groups within its sphere of influence paid tribute to this city, and so Tenochtitlan became one of the richest and most advanced cities in the world. Its amenities included potable water, aqueducts, paved roads, bridges, and drainage systems. Its markets displayed goods from all over Mesoamerica. It was a beautiful city. The conquistadors were astounded that people of a foreign culture could build cities that compared favorably with Seville or Cordoba in Spain. Cortés described the huge number and variety of products sold in the marketplace, and the enormous number of people buying them. Bernard Diaz del Castillo, one of Cortés's men, wrote, "When we saw all those cities and villages built on water, and the other great towns on dry land, and that straight and level causeway leading to Mexico, we were astounded. These great towns and shrines and buildings rising from the water, all made of stone, seemed like an enchanted vision from the tale of Amadis. Indeed, some of our soldiers asked whether it was not all a dream. It is not surprising, therefore, that I should write in this vein. It was all so wonderful that I do not know how to describe this first glimpse of things never heard of." For all of their virtues, however, the Aztecs were not good politicians. They could not see into the future and visualize the tragedy that would befall them. Had they treated their neighboring tribes better, Cortés, the leader of the conquistadors, would not have amassed enough manpower to defeat this great city-state. But the Aztecs believed their gods relied on human sacrifice and that they needed to cut the hearts out of those captured in war to please their gods. This vicious religion infuriated those indigenous tribes whose warriors were the victims of such atrocities. The captured tribes also bristled at paying tribute. So when Cortes arrived, he was able to defeat this great culture with the help of other embittered Indian tribes. Were the Aztecs really vicious? According to the conquistadors, who were not known for their kindness, they were. Perhaps the conquistadors exaggerated the ruthlessness of the Aztecs, but in 2015, a large mound of 600 skulls was found in an excavation near the Templo Mayor, the temple at the heart of the Aztec Empire. They are arrayed in towers held together by lime. Although it is thought that they are mostly the remains of warriors, there are also the skulls of women and children among them. Anthropologists believe that the Aztecs thought that their gods made huge sacrifices in creating and nourishing humans, Aztecs in particular. They therefore had to repay the gods with their own blood and that of others. Cortes did everything in his power to erase the existence of Tenochtitlan, razing its palaces to the ground and taking its stones to construct his own buildings. They apparently wanted no reminders. They had invaded a civilization as advanced as their own, but who worshipped foreign gods. Tenochtitlan was destroyed. In its stead, the conquistadors built Mexico City, the heart of the Spanish Empire in the New World. The city was transformed again in 1821 when Mexico won the War of Independence from Spain and Mexico City became its capital city and remains so today. Few traces of the Aztec achievements remained visible after the Great Destruction. They were buried, hidden from the eyes. But one day in 1978, repairs were required to the underground electrical cables at the Zocalo, the main square of Mexico City. And there it was. The workers made an historic discovery. Underground, they found a decapitated stone image of the Aztec moon goddess, Coyolxauhqui. And soon a serious dig ensued, in which the remains of the Templo Mayor were discovered. It is there today, partly uncovered, partly only because the Aztecs were known to build new palaces on top of the older ones. Some anthropologists believe there are 7 layers of temples there in all. Right now, only one is uncovered. It is a serious tourist destination. However, under the nearby Metropolitan Cathedral, an Aztec ball court was discovered. The Aztecs, as well as many other tribal groups in the Americas, often played teatxlu. It was much like soccer, using a heavy rubber ball and passing it by using only hips, elbows, and knees, with the hope of getting into the opponent's end zone. The National Palace is a huge building running 200 meters along one side of the Zocalo. Since 2018, it has been the residence of the President of Mexico, as well as the home of the Federal Treasury and the National Archives. On September 15th of each year, the President of Mexico appears on the balcony of the National Palace and gives a speech commemorating Mexican independence and rings the bell that hangs above the balcony. This historical bell is the same one that was rung on the 16th of September 1810 by the Roman Catholic priest Michael Hidalgo Costilla, announcing the beginning of the struggle for independence that lasted 11 years. Independence Day is the 16th of September and celebrated with a massive festival filled with parades, fireworks, dancing in the streets, mariachi music, and the mass consumption of traditional food. Across from the municipal palace is the Metropolitan Cathedral. The Europeans built their church, presently the largest cathedral in all of Latin America, on top of the site of the Aztec sacred precinct, the walled enclosure that contained many temples and sacred buildings. Construction began in 1573 and lasted until 1813. Many styles of architecture were used in the approximately 250 years it took to build the cathedral, as tastes and styles changed. It is said that Hernán Cortés, the conqueror of Tenochtitlan, laid its first stone. The underbelly of the Metropolitan Cathedral contains many interesting Aztec constructions. A tunnel to the Templo Mayor, the foundations of the ancient pyramid of Tonatiuh, and the stone monument where the Aztecs made their human sacrifices. Like many buildings in Mexico City, this huge edifice has gradually been sinking. The problem is actually 500 years old. The Aztecs built their city on and around a series of lakes. Then the Spanish drained many of them. The current population of Mexico City uses the fresh water from the aquifers below the city, causing them to shrink and the land above to sink. Many experts believe the Metropolitan Cathedral is 10 meters lower than it was when it was originally built. Next to the cathedral is the Zocalo, the main square of Mexico City. It is one of the largest public squares in the world, 57,000 square meters. A U.S. football field, by comparison, is about 5,350 square meters. It is, with its accompanying buildings, a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to its historical significance. This park was the ceremonial center of the Aztecs. The Zocalo is often filled with crowds of people. Recently, the first female president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, appeared there. As the president, she lives in the municipal palace, and it is from there presidents often deliver important announcements. And it is from there she celebrated her inaugural party. The Zocalo was filled to capacity, with over 100,000 people that showed up to honor her. Women all over the country of all groups, indigenous and mestizo, were delighted with a president of their own sex. The female leaders of over 70 indigenous groups were there in celebration. In the center of the Zocalo is a huge flagpole. Each morning, a military procession marches out of the municipal palace with a huge flag, La Bandera, and carries it to the flagpole, raising it while music from the army band plays. It is lowered at dusk. Here at the Zocalo, there are celebrations for the Day of the Dead Holy Week, military parades, all kinds of holidays, and the swearing in of public officials. Around Christmas, the Zocalo has a verbena, an open-air party. It is lavishly adorned with huge Christmas trees, often bedecked with thousands of poinsettias. There is also an enormous nativity scene featuring a well-known sculpture of the baby Jesus. Food, plays, musical groups, rides on carousels and Ferris wheels are all available to the partygoers. The National Palace, the Old City Hall, and the Grand Hotel of Mexico are all illuminated by holiday lights, as are other buildings that surround the Zocalo. Mexicans flock here to participate in the joy of the season. On an ordinary day, the Zocalo is crammed with activity and color. Shamans, or healers in Aztec array, with big feather headdresses, are scattered throughout the area. People in ordinary clothes line up for the spiritual cleansing that the Aztecs provide. Perhaps they have been in a car accident or have had a reversal of financial fortune. They seek protection from the gods. They want to be cleansed of the evil spirits that may have occupied their bodies. In Mexico, all classes of people participate in this ceremony. At her inauguration, the President of Mexico did so as well. There are people selling their wares in booths around the square. There are tour groups being instructed about the historical sites around them. There are dog walkers and police. There is a throng of people enjoying a leisurely stroll through the Zocalo. Just as the Zocalo was the soul of Tenochtitlan, it is the heart of modern Mexico City. The remains of the Aztec civilization are evident in many places in Mexico City, Xochimilco being another such place. Tenochtitlan was on an island connected to the mainland by 4 causeways. Surrounding the causeways were artificial floating gardens. These chinampas, as they were called, were created by putting mud from the bottom of the lake on wooden rafts. As one of the rafts decayed and sank, another was placed on top, and this process was repeated over time until an island became permanent. These islands were long and narrow, about 10 to 13 feet wide and 1,300 to 3,000 feet long. They were built parallel to one another, with canals running between them. From these plots, the farmers could raise multiple crops per year. This agricultural endeavor became an important part of the economy. It fed the people. When the Spanish arrived, they needed to eat also, and so they preserved the chinampas and the crops. Today, Xochimilco, the second largest park in Mexico City, is full of color and vitality, especially on the weekends. One part of the park is alive with brightly colored boats. Mexicans and tourists alike hire them to paddle through the historical canals. Merchants sail by with all kinds of delicious food perfuming the air with tempting odors. Mariachis entice the boaters with their lively songs. With them are their guitars, their guitarons, their vihuelas, their violins, their trumpets, and their repertoire of traditional music. They play passionately as tourists and locals alike drift peacefully along the water, while an oarsman pushes a huge paddle on the shallow bottom to propel them forward. There is also a large ecological park, 1/2 kilometer from the holiday din of the boaters. In this area, many birds find their homes, and city dwellers find peace after a day of hard work. This is the location of many native trees and animals, including the much-beloved axolotl, an extremely endangered reptile native to Xochimilco. It is often captured and used in scientific research because of its ability to regenerate its limbs, gills, parts of its eyes, and brain. There are very few existing today in the wild, and they are consigned to Lake Xochimilco. They are fairly easy to breed artificially, and so many exist in laboratories. They were so numerous in pre-Columbian times that they were a staple food for the Aztecs. The Mexican people love their cute faces and often buy stuffed animals in their image. Another place in Mexico City dating to pre-Columbian times is Coyoacán. This location is well known for having been the home of the famous artists Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo. At the time of the Aztecs, it was inhabited by the Tepanec people who resented their subservience to the Aztecs. When the Spanish found their way to Coyoacán, the Tepanec became Cortez's allies in attacking their adversaries, the Aztecs. Cortez made this area the first Spanish capital while Tenochtitlan was being rebuilt as Mexico City after its mass destruction. This rebuilding process took place from 1521 to 1523. Today, Coyoacán is one of the most exciting locations in Mexico City. The Frida Kahlo Home and Museum is one of the most popular museums in Mexico City. Even on slow days, visitors are advised to pre-buy tickets because the lines outside the entrance are invariably lengthy. Frida Kahlo and her husband Diego Rivera befriended Leon Trotsky. Trotsky was a Russian revolutionary and politician who opposed Joseph Stalin, the bloodthirsty leader of Russia. Trotsky was deported by Stalin. After briefly living in a number of countries, he found his way to Mexico City with the help of his artistic friends. He bought a home near Frida Kahlo's in Coyoacán. Trotsky was hated by Stalin, who plotted to kill him. Someone with a machine gun broke into the Trotsky's home on May 2, 1940. Miraculously, the only injury was to Trotsky's nephew's toe. In the bedroom, there are 2 bullet holes that commemorate that occasion. But 3 months later, Trotsky was assassinated by a strong Stalin supporter who pretended to be Trotsky's friend. Unsuspectingly, Trotsky let him into his study, whereupon the assassin hit him over the head with an ice axe. Trotsky died the next day. Trotsky's home is now a museum. It is exactly as it was on the day he died, his reading and writing materials aligned neatly on his desk. His tomb is in the garden. On weekends, Coyoacán is the site of a large, colorful festival. People fill the streets and parks, strolling around to take in the ambience, eating from the many food stalls, restaurants, or cafes, and enjoying the many street performers. There are multitudinous booths around the square where craftsmen display and sell their wares. The air is filled with laughter. Mariachi tones drift through the air. This happy music adds to the joyous experience of a sunny day filled with jubilation. Many Mexican cities have anthropological museums where ancient statues, carvings, reliefs, replicas, and ceramics are displayed. The National Museum of Anthropology is huge, its floor space being almost 20 acres in area. It is one of the most visited museums in Mexico, with 2.6 million visitors in 2023, and it holds the largest collection of ancient Mexican art in the world. The exhibits are of 2 types, ancient indigenous art and current indigenous groups. Present-day Mexicans flock there on weekends when it is free and encounter the wonders that their ancestors created. including one of its better-known pieces, the Aztec calendar. Outside the museum every half hour, another indigenous event occurs, La Danza de los Voladores. The origin of the ceremony is in the central Mexican state of Veracruz. The legend explaining it says that the ancient people suffered from many years of drought. To show their adoration and to persuade the god to end the drought, the ancient people developed a very special ritual, La Danza de los Voladores, to honor him. This ceremony is filled with symbolism. It is associated with the rain and solar gods as well as the spring equinox. Usually there are 5 participants, all of whom climb a 30-meter high pole to the very top. 4 tie themselves to the pole with a rope that they wind around themselves 13 times. Then they fling their bodies off into space. They spin 13 times each, or 52 times in all, which is the number of circles on the Aztec calendar. The rotating bodies symbolize a number of natural phenomena, the connection of the sky, the earth, and the underworld with life on Earth's surface. UNESCO has named this practice an intangible cultural heritage. As part of this honor, Mexico must encourage these rituals, safeguard them, and promote them in the country. Another type of event in Mexico City is the dance, particularly the folk dances performed by the Ballet Folclórico de Mexico. This company's performances reflect both post- and pre-Columbian culture. The dancers' wardrobes are nothing less than stunning. The Ballet Folclórico de Mexico has performed all over the world. Their dances exemplify the culture of Mexico, from the pre-Columbian to the Columbian eras, and from the far northern states like Chihuahua and Sonora to the deep southern ones like Chiapas and the Yucatan. From indigenous to Spanish to mestizo cultures, these dances truly represent the entire culture and history of Mexico. Mexico City is a fascinating place. It is a vibrant city filled with energy, color, exuberance, and excitement. For history buffs, it is one of the oldest cities in the Americas, founded as Tenochtitlan in 1325 by the Aztecs. The architecture of Mexico City reflects its long history, as does its arts, food, and culture. There are endless restaurants, cafes, street stalls, and markets, museums, theaters, and galleries to explore. Mexico City is a traveler's paradise. It is an underrated but wonderful place to visit.